trend when it comes to co-working these days is WeWork. WeWork also started as a company providing space to smaller companies, but the role of WeWork is changing. It's rapidly changing. And we have here the creative director of WeWork, Scott Rominger, to tell you more about the changing role of WeWork. An applause, please, for Scott Rominger.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Stand on this side. I apologize if I stumble through this a bit. I'm usually behind the scenes, working on all these spaces. But basically, my name's Scott Rominger. I oversee the creative direction for all our projects in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. I'm sure everyone's heard of WeWork by now, especially recently in the news. But how many have been to one before? And how many have thought that it's purely just for startup businesses? Over the last 10 years, we've been working extremely hard to innovate what a workplace is, focusing on culture and kind of global access as the two main priorities. But today, I'm here to kind of discuss our further offering from a design perspective, focusing on the enterprise companies that have come in. Enterprise is, in our language, 500 employees or more. And currently they operate globally in our buildings, but they operate as 43% of our current member base. So our origins, back in Grand Street, was our first location in Soho 10 years ago. It was comprised of all small floor plates packed with glass offices. There's a tiny little pantry on each floor, and then there was a reception at the front who'd help with anything the member would need. The office is too cold, I have a package coming in, all these little things. They're kind of office admin built in with your membership on top of the coffee, the beer. But looking back at this space and then kind of looking forward to where we are now, you can see both the amenities we offer have changed and grown, but also how the member has adapted. It's no longer solely offices for 1 to 10 people. It's now offices for 500, full floor plates of buildings, 3 floors of buildings, or even single standalone HQs that we designed for the likes of HSBC, Amazon, Google, stuff like that. So these topics in mind, so urbanization, as we all kind of move towards global capitals, space becomes more and more scarce, and we need to kind of make these spaces more efficient, which is what we've been focusing on the last 10 years, is efficiency. How do we kind of make the office spaces fit as many people as we can, but also allowing for breakout spaces, lounges, places for people to kind of escape their desk and explore. There's also a drive for lower fixed costs as the market is super volatile, and a lot of members are looking to kind of escape their long-term fixed leases and move to us because we offer shorter-term flexi leases. And then lastly, kind of with the global connectivity, just being able to build these networks across all of the markets. We have an online platform, essentially an internal Facebook, that can connect members from Tel Aviv to New York to Abu Dhabi. So today I'm going to talk about our 3 main offerings. Right? So co-working, which is kind of the core of the business, always has been kind of our driver. It's where we've been able to trial a bunch of things and develop kind of our core product. This is where we collect data and continually improve. And then configured, which is now where we can action all of this data that we've kind of collected over the past 10 years. And we created kind of a kit of parts based on all the optimal settings, so conference rooms that have the best acoustic performance, pantries that are super efficient, all scales and sizes that you can plug and play into a layout quickly while you're working with a member to do custom design. Lastly, custom is when a large-scale member comes to us and they have their playbook in hand and they want us to kind of adapt that to their space, adding in like what we know about office culture and how to promote interaction between their employees from all different departments. So as I said, co-working, always been a core. People look at it as hot desking. Configured, again, talking about conference rooms. We've kind of figured out the best lighting, the best acoustics, the best carpeting, the best seats, which are a huge thing, and access to power. And lastly, custom, which is when they come to us and they think they know what they want, but a lot of times you have to kind of lead them in the right direction. So from all the knowledge we've gleaned over the last 10 years doing these office spaces, we've kind of categorized all the zones in a typical space into these 6 categories. So the we spaces are anything but desks, right? So it's the lounge, the pantry, any of the amenities like wellness spaces, workspaces is anything from a hot desk to a large office. Meetings can be a 2-person interview room up to a 150-person auditorium. And circulate are the spaces that most office spaces forget about completely. So your lift lobbies, your entryways, your corridors, and I'll go into it later, but how do you kind of activate those spaces? Washrooms have always been a highlight for WeWork, just adding a little bit of fun to your day. And then lastly, operate is anything that helps the building run that members don't actually have to care about, like IT rooms, and those are all kind of standardized tonight. One of the main things, too, that instead of in considering each of these elements separately, we also consider them as a train through the building. How is the member experiencing these from one to the next? In a normal office building, you walk in, you go to your desk, maybe you go to the pantry to put your lunch in the fridge, and that's pretty much it. But in a WeWork, it's about creating impact from the second you walk in. So entry sequence, what is that? And then community is there to touch base with you. They're the first people you see every day. They know your name. They'll let you know if you have any packages, and they can kind of help you kind of set up your day correctly. Lounges, you can stop in, grab a coffee, say hi to some people who work in the office next to you. It's a great place to actually meet and connect. Head to your office, and then there's all the other support functions as well throughout the building. So I'll give you a real-life example to kind of better explain all these concepts. So 10 York Road, which was the largest building of WeWork when it opened, this 2019. It is our EMEA headquarters, as well as, I think, 16 floors of co-working spaces and amenities. The one great thing about this building is we are the only tenant. So unlike other situations where you walk into a multi-tenant building, you don't really have the chance to affect the member experience from the second they walk in the door. But here we were able to kind of evaluate the whole entry sequence. So here you can see the lobby and kind of the entrance from the ground. So even like how do we do signage? What is the lighting effects light on the street? When we got the building, the landlord had this plan for the lobby, which is a nice spec, right? It's kind of standard office building. It's what you'd expect. But when you walk in, you have to walk a mile to get to the reception. You don't have to speak to them unless you need to. You're a guest checking in. There's minimal furniture, not very comfortable. It's not a place you really want to spend your day. So what we started out in is how do you activate the space, and how do you kind of affect a person's morning just by walking into the building? So here, we have 5,000 people coming through this lobby every day. So we really wanted to activate it. Activate is the key word here. Kind of make a space that people want to stay in. When guests come, they don't feel like they're waiting in an uncomfortable area. Members can come down here and have impromptu meetings. If you don't want to bring someone back up to your office, you can have a quick meeting down here. So these 2 pavilions, we work closely with Catal to build these out custom for the project, and because the ceiling is so high, we try to create more intimate zones so members don't feel like they're floating in a giant space. The top one is the reception desk, and when you have a large member in the building, they often come and check in, up to 50 guests at a time for like a large meeting. So by creating this little zone, they're kind of in this space, and they feel a bit more, it's a personal interaction. And also, because the desk is low, when you're coming in to sign a contract or have a meeting about getting a space in the building, it's much more personal. And then also, there's this conference room down here is both highlighting what we can do as a conference room in the building, kind of putting the product on display, but people use this every day for meetings as well. Going back to activation, keeping people down here. There's the DJ when you walk in, which to some companies may seem outrageous, but we have a lot of enterprise clients in this building and they love it. Every day there's different music. It's not too jarring. It's just a nice experience when you walk in. It's also the first thing you see, which shakes up the standard experience of a lobby. It's not a reception desk at the far end. It's a bit more fun. And then also, there's a free barista down here, so you can grab a coffee on your way in. Guests can grab a coffee when they're waiting down here. People occupy these nooks all day long, as well as the lounges. So going back to enterprise, as I said, 43% of our members are now some part of an enterprise business. They make up 37,000 individuals globally across all of our markets. They range from everything from hot desk members to full independent HQs. We recently did Manchester Amazon headquarters. Like, it's a full building. They own it, but we fitted it out for them. It's a great way for them. Coming into a WeWork sets them apart because its impact. When someone comes in for an interview, it's a very different experience than walking into, not to drop names, but a Regis, for example. So the flexibility and the growth is a huge thing for the enterprise client. Because the contracts are shorter term, they're not tied to a specific building. They can move within WeWorks or expand their offices within an existing WeWork. If they want to scale up for a project, they can rent extra space for 6 months or a year. It helps them attract talent, like I was saying. 78% of enterprise members said it helped them attract and retain talent just by being in a WeWork. And then lastly, productivity and engagement. 80% of members said that their productivity has increased since joining WeWork. It allows them to step out of their normal office routine and go get a coffee, go do a wellness class during the day without having to leave the building. So an example of an enterprise member in 10 York Road would be HSBC. So they took floors 1 through 3, and these were originally designed in-house to be co-working spaces, broken into small offices, but they came in, saw the floor plans. We had designed this as a kind of connected floor, almost a mini neighborhood in this giant building, so we had already planned to put a stair in with a community touch point in the middle, but they came in and said, we love it, we want it. So they took these 3 floors and kept the amenity spaces exactly how we had planned them. And then they worked with our team to redefine the workplace strategy that surrounded that. So they used our off-the-shelf products like the conference rooms and kind of breakout spaces as we have pre-programmed. They just worked with our team to kind of lay these out in the space. The HSBC team is super happy with the new space. Talent attraction and retention has never been higher. And they can often be found on the amenity floor socializing with the rest of the building after work. So they don't stay isolated to their 3 floors. They interact with every other member in the building. As we started working with larger enterprise members, we realized we created slides to capture the intentions of each of these spaces onto one page. So it's better for us to kind of show them exactly what we mean by a lift lobby and how we can change their perception of it from the beginning of the conversation. As you can see, like, lift lobbies are often left undesigned in many buildings. It's base build. But here, we try to at least introduce some interesting lighting, because how many times have you waited for an elevator for 20 minutes during the rush lunch, like the lunch rush, and you just are stuck in this space, so why shouldn't you make it feel a bit more homey? Within each of these space types, you work cross-functionally. So our team in-house we have interior designers, architects, engineers, lighting designers, arts and graphics. We have everyone. So as we're working in each of these spaces, we touch base with each of the teams to make sure we're optimizing each of the spaces. As you can see here, this is a standard dining zone in one of our buildings. We've broken it down into these standard types, which are then built into Revit, and they can be plugged and played based on the scale of that building. So within each of those, we then have a predefined list of approved furniture. So our FF&E team works hard to kind of source comfortable and durable furniture throughout. We even have worked with some brands such as Tonnet to bring back retired designs. So these are then offered as a menu to the custom and the configured spaces, so they can choose from these. Also, it serves as a menu within our own co-working design teams. These are then built into online platform, so it's our own shopping cart, essentially. So this is linked with Revit and can auto-populate. So when we do layouts of a building for both co-working, configured, and custom, all the data is gleaned from Revit and plugged directly into this platform, so it makes it super efficient and quick for us to get from layouts with a member to getting their order submitted. So the timeline is cut drastically, which helps get them in their space faster. Again, similar logic along this as well. So we have these predefined lounge layouts. All the SKUs are already built into Revit, so when we drop the layout in, the member signs it off, and it goes straight to the ordering process. And again, all of these have been vetted and approved. A lot of it is custom furniture that we've designed in-house as well. So once the space is scanned by our reality capture team, it goes to our BIM team. So every building, every model we have is super accurate. So we're working, which helps kind of, again, speed. And here you can see, too, this is a standard layout. So pantries, we have predefined for efficiency. They're bulk ordered, and we work with multiple vendors across Europe to get them in the space. Dining seating, lounge seating, and millwork are all relatively standardized, so when we are working with these clients, we can plug them in. So to do a specific highlight on a member, Red Hat, who's taken advantage as a configured member, they've gone across, I think, 7 of our buildings now, Johannesburg, Dublin, Denver, Warsaw. They came in and met with our team, told us what they needed in each of these spaces. They went into open WeWorks, so we kind of adapted the space after the building was open to fit what they needed. A lot of it is IT rooms, extra conference rooms. So we would go in, build this out for them, and be able to charge them a minimal fee because all of these deals are already set in place. An additional attraction is each of these locations is also, it's built for the market, right? So when they get a space in Johannesburg, it's not going to be cookie cutter like their space in Dublin. Each is adapted to local, both customs and kind of aesthetics. So one example would be we adapt our offerings we have baristas in every location in London because coffee is a big thing. Whereas in India, chai is a big thing. In all of our locations in the Middle East, they love a juice bar. So we kind of adapt that across each of the buildings to best suit them. Dining spaces are a huge thing when people bring their lunch in certain cultures. So Israel, they love to bring their lunch and eat together. So we adapt each of those zones for them. Another reason why a lot of members come to us is the amenities that they can get almost for free. It's part of their member fee, but it's something that you wouldn't get in a normal office space, right? So back to York Road, we have the main core of the building, 8 and 9, is where all of these amenities are condensed, as well as taking advantage of the roof terrace. Level 9 was chosen purely because it was a crossover floor where both elevator banks stopped. This is where you can come down, grab a coffee at the barista, do a yoga class, or grab lunch from the pop-up kitchen. Walking in, you're greeted by the community team, which is essentially your built-in office manager. They're here to help. And another thing we did here was a social core, which is, because this was our headquarters, we experimented with everything. We're constantly trying new things to see if they work. Go back to this. Because we had so many amenity we wanted to pack in to take advantage of the extra space we had in this building, we decided to cut a slab to connect floors 8 and 9. So there's a giant puncture through the space to connect visually and physically the spaces to create footfall. But as we cut out the stair, we were like, why not make it a habitable place? Insert program here so people do stop and use it, so it's not just a cut through. People can stop off, have a conversation in the more lounge-like area, grab lunch in the more dining-like area up here. This is a quick section through the space. So in addition to creating visibility through, we also wanted to connect our European headquarters, which is on floors 10 and 11, because as a team, and we're trialing so many things here, we learn from what we're doing. So being able to come down through the stair and interact with the members as they're experiencing the space is super important to us. Because you have intentions of what you think they're going to do, but when they actually get in the space, you have no idea what's going to happen. Creating the cafe area off of this zone also helped pull people and activate the space a bit more. So this is always buzzing. It's also placed near the stair, so people do come up and down, and also near the conference room center. So when people come in with whether it's an interview or it's a meeting, they have time to stop at get a free coffee and then go to their meeting. There's a secluded hot desk area, which is a bit removed from this zone, and we offered different types of seating here, because some people like to sit in a desk, some people like to sit in a swing, some people like to sit on the ground. You'd be surprised where you see people working. But the great thing about the hot desk members is not just people who want to pop in for the day. There's kind of global companies who have maybe 3 people who work out of the London office, and they wanted to give them a place, so they have 3 desks here. If you work at HSBC on floors 1 through 3, you can come up and work here for the day and just get out of your office. It's just a way to kind of escape from like sitting at a desk with a monitor in front of you. In this building, this is the first time we trialed the conference room suite, which was a huge request from the enterprise members, being able to have a zone that you can rent out all day. So here you can see it was an isolated area with privacy, and they can rent this out. There's a tea point if they need to do beverage service. In addition to this, there's also a speakeasy, which is the bottom picture here, that kind of serves as an all-day meeting place. It has a variety. If you want to sit at a table, if you want to sit in a lounge, if you want to get up and down, play a game of pool in between, it's a way to kind of stay active during the day. Wellness, mental and physical, have been a huge thing in the office environment world. We've had a huge push. We always put a wellness space in the buildings, but here we had a bit more room because of the scale of the building. So we really pushed what those spaces could be. The meditation room up top is kind of soundproof. It's a place you can go in and you can pray, you can meditate, you can take a nap, but it's a way to kind of reset your brain for the day. The yoga room has been more active. It's where we do yoga classes here, but also there's high impact classes, there's personal training. And there's a treatment room as well, which we offer free massages throughout the day, and the mother's lounge too, to take care of any new parent needs that are necessary. It's a huge, huge thing for a lot of the enterprise members, is to be able to have this for their employees free of charge. Additionally, one thing we trialed here, so all of our locations we do pop-up lunches, which are healthy, and because of we are trying to make an impact globally, we don't eat meat as a company at any event. So when we serve food, it's healthy and meat-free. But here we built in a permanent kitchen, so every day, breakfast and lunch, people can come here. It's cheaper, it's easier, and it's healthier than most of the fast food you're going to get around Waterloo. And also the pantry, you can see a typical pantry here. It offers coffee, beer, all the kind of smaller amenities that in a typical office space, getting that set up is going to cost you way more, and these are free of charge with the building. As you go down to level 8, This was a new thing we trialed in this building as well. Large-scale auditorium is a huge request. So we put our spin on it, obviously, made it a bit more comfortable, because most of the time you're in meetings, you're here all day. So we found the most comfortable sectional we could, built in joinery around it, low-level lighting, and made it super performative. Performance and operations are the two biggest drivers behind most of the things we do, and aesthetics comes layered on top. But this space can then be rented out for events. The community does events in the games lounge, totally turns it into a kind of a second auditorium. But if these large members want to come in and rent this whole space, they can have a all-hands meeting in the auditorium and then have a post-event in the outer space. So flexibility is a huge thing here. Lastly, if you go up to the top floor, you have views of all of the skyline of London. So here, because we were challenged with a difficult floor plate, you can see most of this is outdoor, and some of it's triple height. So we trialed a food and beverage offering here, which again is an additional amenity to these kind of enterprise members, all members, but specifically enterprise loves to have this in the building. They can cater your lunches. You can come up here for coffee in the morning. You can get lunch here, bring a business client up here for lunch, and also cocktails after work. It's a great amenity to have in the building, so you don't have to leave. There's not much located around this building. Then moving into fully custom, the easiest way to dive into it is our HQ at this building. Every department has very specific needs, and they all think they're the most important. So as we approached this, we met with each department, interviewed all the team members, kind of figured out who they worked with most frequently during the day. And so that began this layout for us. And they wanted to trial a new workplace strategy here of team homes. So removing pedestals from every desk. No one has a permanent desk. Everyone has a locker. It's something that we've started to play into custom a bit, but it hasn't been really fully executed in any of our member spaces. So we wanted to trial it. It also helps if you don't have a permanent desk, you're constantly moving around to align with your new teams. It forced people to actually meet in person instead of emailing. It's a great thing. So this is an idea. So this gives you an idea of our floor plans. We also trialed the idea of project rooms, which were non-bookable. It's a place that you, as a team home, kind of own that space, and you can do whatever you want with it. As well as kind of these shared breakout areas were all zones on what gets used the most. How do you want it placed in the space? Do you want it near the desk? Do you want it away from the desk? Are there dividers? What kind of privacy do all these spaces need? So this was a huge test. There's very few walls. And then we also tried putting in a actual IT desk. So instead of submitting a request online, you can go speak to them about your problem. And then there's a quiet library space where there's no talking, no phones. And a lot of people end up just taking their laptop and going to work there for the day if they have to get something done, put their head down. So all of these are kind of new things we're trialing, as well as these flexi lounge meeting spaces, which have no glass partition, but have a curtain that you close behind you. So these are all new things that we got to trial here that we can all then offer to our member moving forward. Since we are one of the few companies that do kind of use our product every day, all day, it is a different experience than most companies, right? We are the guinea pigs. These trials help us understand everything, pretty much. Do people want to work in a lounge? Because we think they do, but it turns out they actually do. The day beds are a huge hit here as well. Thanks to all these trials we've done at our new HQ, we have the highest ambience rating of any WeWork globally, which is a huge hit. Going back to kind of the standardizations, you can see, so these are all pre-built in Revit, and we have everything defined from a 2-person interview room up to a 500-person auditorium, really. But these allow us to kind of calculate the usage of materials we're going to use in each of these spaces and then project that for the members. So As of 2018, we used 12 million square feet of glass and 750,000 square feet of carpet. So we have leverage when it comes to scale. So when we're working with a team to build out a new space, we can, A, get them a cheaper price, build it out faster for them, but also make sure that it's going to be high quality. No? There we go. And then also all the kind of back of house items that you never think about. Being able to step out and have a quick phone call. We have these prefabricated phone booths, which we have in bulk in the warehouse and we can ship over to your office. Same with setting up a print station. No one wants to deal with it. No one wants to put new paper, replace the ink. That's stuff all we do. And then same with IT rooms. We can fully custom build one. So like HSBC wanted their own IT room. So we have all these ready to plug and play for them, and they're taken care of. Lastly, going into another custom project we recently completed in New York. We did the same process here. We met with a team. They were a 500-person team in a different office. They bought a new space, and they wanted us to come fit it out. We met with each of their teams, figured out how they worked best, and who they needed to be near, and what the growth plans were, and how they like to work. So this is Oscar Health in New York. They have a new headquarters we designed on Varick Street. We made sure that the new headquarters not only encapsulated their brand, but also got everything on their wish list. So open spaces for more open meetings, quiet spaces to put your head down and work. And then we made sure that the placement of all of these items then facilitated cross-department collaboration, which is a huge thing for us, just being able to redefine what your day at work is like. Here's some images of some custom things that we had to deal with for them. So bottom right, our arts and graphics team worked with their departments to kind of figure out how they wanted to represent the space. There's custom murals, custom neons, and then our ops team and our design team worked with them they wanted a breakfast bar. It's nothing we've ever done before, but we took what we learned from all of our pantry designs and kind of implemented it here. They have a full custom tech setup, which our AV department, IT department worked with them. And then also we've sourced lockers for them, which lockers are something we're still trialing, but it's a huge request. So we made a push here to get them in. And then lastly, as 43% of our business is now enterprise, we're trying to personalize each of these amenities for them. So here you can see custom hot desks we designed for Oscar. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Scott, for showing us the inner workings of WeWork. I was wondering, witnessing your presentation, in how far bringing all of these enterprises in is the result of a strategy of WeWork, or whether that is just happening to WeWork.
I think they started coming to us, and then we were like, oh yeah, this is something. So now we actively work with them, but I think they realized over time that we can bring culture and shake up their worlds a bit.
So, and you do custom design for these companies,
yeah.
To an increasing degree,
yeah.
I expect.
Every day there's a new one.
Yeah, but I mean, you custom design these offices increasingly.
Yeah, so we push for the configured because it helps us leverage what we've already accomplished. Custom, you're entering a whole new territory, so it hasn't been trialed. Mm-hmm. But we try to use what we have accomplished so far to influence the custom, if that makes sense.
And what happened with all of the startups and the scale-ups that you used to be hosting?
There.
They're still there?
Yeah, they're still there. But a lot of them have grown with the company, so a lot of them are now entering the larger realm, and they want a configured space. So it's the outcome of us helping them along the way, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And what does it mean for WeWork to be dealing with these enterprises? Does it change the process? Does it change the way you work? Does it even change your ideas about the workspace?
To a certain degree, they push us to develop new program types a lot, but we try to keep it along the same process. But obviously, once you introduce a client, we were our own client, now we have a client, it's always a bit more difficult. It goes back to the real design world a bit.
I can imagine that the audience has some questions for you. There's one already.
Hi, thanks very much for the presentation. Really nice to see kind of the design process in WeWork and how meticulously thought out your process is. But I've got two questions in a way. The first being kind of, with all this work and all this effort, why do you think also WeWork hasn't been able to make turnover a profit yet up until today? And also, to what extent does the designer play in the role in considering profit as a factor in the design of a space?
Two good questions. The first one, coming from a design background, the main reason is the massive growth we were pushing to get global. Because global connectivity is a driver, you can't be globally connected unless you have global locations. So it was a huge push to get those locations open. We are profitable in EMEA, which is my region. Secondly, what was the second question?
The role of designers in considering profit making for the company.
So we work closely with all the departments basically to figure out how to refine what we're doing, and that's a huge push for the standardization. Is once we standardize something, we can target kind of bulk purchasing and leverage that power we have. Obviously, every space we do something custom, which is one-off, but for the most part, the big push for standardization is to get that pricing that we need.
Standardization is at odds with customization.
Exactly.
Which is increasingly happening.
We're stuck in the middle.
More questions? One over there.
Hi, my question is about feedback and optimization. So it would seem like it would be really valuable data, people's body language and their facial expressions as they go out throughout the workday, to figure out how they feel in different spaces and different soundscapes and different configurations. Is that data that you collect and analyze?
Their actual facial expressions, no. But we do take a lot of feedback from the community teams who are there watching every day. So we both have kind of physical data from how spaces are used, how frequently they're used, but then we get that additional layer from the people on the ground, which is what I was saying. Like in our HQ, we can go see how they feel, what they're doing. It's a bit more tactile interaction than just putting it out there and hoping it goes well. You get that feedback.
It would seem to be tempting to use cameras to watch people all the time.
No.
Okay.
There are rumors, but...
More questions? Then I have one more question for you. I couldn't help but notice that while you were showing your images that the chairs you've selected for the workplaces, they have a nostalgic feel about them. Let's say they're classics, most of them. Why is that? I mean, you are a host to many forward-looking companies that drive our future, and why do you seat them at, let's say, backward-looking furniture?
I mean, I think a huge thing with that selection of furniture is that you want every space to feel like home. It's a huge thing.
Home is a space to look back.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to everyone's, I mean, everyone here is a designer, so it's probably very specific based on person, but a lot of homes, say your parents' house, has hand-me-downs from someone. You have the classic Tone chair has been around forever, right? But I think it helps add that layer of, not nostalgia is the wrong word, but comfort. There's something in your brain that kind of is triggered by those pieces, right? That it automatically makes you relax a bit.
And did you select them for that reason?
Yeah, there's been a rigorous design process behind them, but also, I mean, referencing classics is something that's huge within the company. I think looking back to look forward is a big motto.
Cool. More questions? Yes, one over there. Can we have the microphone, please? Front row.
Hi, my question is about, has there ever been a research about how designing a workplace in this way affects productivity of the people who work in it. I expect it increases, but I mean, has there ever been a research about this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know full details because, as I said, I get them on a spreadsheet, so I don't know what the research process was. But a lot of it comes straight from the companies, enterprise companies that we work with. They'll tell us directly, like, this has helped us achieve this year. Like, our numbers are up, blah, blah, blah. So it's all, from, as far as I know, it's from that kind of side of things.
One question over there.
The percentage of entrepreneurial clients is huge, and there is a question. It's also a challenge because companies of 500 plus employees, they would like to have their own working experience. And my question is, where is the border or the age between WeWork branded experience and the company's client's branded experience, and how you approach to that?
So for the full custom projects that we do, like the huge buildings, and they come to us with their playbook and they have an idea of what they want, we often tend to push them a bit to, it'll be a hybrid in the end. We try to introduce them to new ideas and like show them what we've done over the past, but then also keeping in mind that they have their own culture most of the time, and their own way of looking at the workspace strategy. So we try to merge both of our ideas into one. So they're usually long meetings up front to try to capture what each party can bring to the table.
Hello. You showed the slide where you guys tried the concept of having a bar and a restaurant, and I was just wondering, how's this working out in action? Because I feel like many times you don't actually want to spend the entire day in the office. Even if it's like the coolest office in the world, you would want to go out and grab a sandwich, breathe some oxygen, or get a drink somewhere outside your office space. So I'm just wondering if this is really something proven to work, or you're still testing the grounds?
They're still testing. So we're working with a third party that we've done a few other food and beverage offerings, smaller than that. Obviously, they're more of like a little cafe in the space. So we have, I want to say, 3 of them in London, and this is the biggest one they've done. It's busy. It's not packed. It's not like going to like a nice restaurant at lunch, right? But I think the biggest time is lunch. Being in London, if it's shit outside, no one wants to go outside, right? So a lot of people end up getting the lunch on the 9th floor, lunch on the top floor. And I mean, there's a big drive for when they bring guests into, like everyone wants to go up. It's hard to get into a space that has a view of London like that, and you can get a cocktail for £8. So it has its piece. We're still trying to figure out if it makes sense. Here, I think it made sense because putting an office there is impossible. It'd be like 8 desks, and you'd have to charge them like $1 million.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I'm looking for one last question. Then that will be mine. You are very experienced when it comes to the way people work, and we've had numerous discussions about open plan offices, which were all the rage, let's say, in the past 10-15 years, no address offices, activity-based working is now getting more en vogue. What is, in your experience, the next big trend in the way we work?
And it's difficult. We're still figuring it out, I think, because people are constantly changing, right?
Yes.
I think being able to, a sea of desks is no one wants to be in a room full of a sea of desks. Mm-hmm. So I think being able to create these like segments of like zones basically in the office where you can move throughout the day and be at a couch, at a table, in a conference room, and just have a sequence instead of sitting in one place all day. It makes everyone work better, right?
Mm-hmm. And divided by walls.
I don't think necessarily physical walls, but some kind of visual, like screening. I mean, so it's, whenever you have an expansive space, it's never comfortable to work in. You always feel exposed. So having some kind of blanket.
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think they're all going to come back to one hybrid at the end.
Okay, thank you very much for
Thanks,
being
man.
with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.